Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So this is part 3 of 3 for Trump's impeachment trial. Like I said, where I left off, none of this really matters, but just want to fill you guys in on what took place so that you know how egregious and unconscionable it is when Republicans vote to acquit Trump. So Trump's attorney, Bruce Castor, I believe is his full name, he lied about when the riot began. He tried to say that Trump spoke out immediately once he knew that the riot had started, once he knew that this attack on the Capitol was underway. And, once again, threw Trump supporters under the Trump train because he said the attack didn't begin. They had a mind of their own. They headed on over and they had pre-planned this, and this was all they're doing. The attack didn't begin when Trump's speech ended. That is true. His terrorists admitted that they left before Trump finished speaking and they began walking to the Capitol. And you see it. You see videos of them walking down to the Capitol, and you can hear Trump in the background. He's still speaking in some of these videos. They also admitted in social media posts and videos that they went there at the behest of Trump. That's the whole point. The fact is that all of his speeches, his tweets, his rhetoric, plus his supporters, his allies like Giuliani and Lynn Wood and Fox and Newsmax and OAN, all of them fed into this. It was everything that was leading up to January 6th. It wasn't just that day. So again, the House managers kept trying to make that point, and Trump's legal defense absolutely kept hanging their hat on January 6th. In fact, by stating and showing evidence that the Capitol attack was pre-planned, which is what his defense team did, they made the House managers' case and proved their point for them. They keep saying these people had it planned. These people were already planning on doing this. Trump had nothing to do with it. His words that day had nothing to do with it. No, that domestic terrorist attack on January 6th was not the result of one speech on one day. Yes, they're right. It was the inevitable conclusion to Donald Trump's months-long, even years-long, incitement of violent, aggressive behavior, his acceptance of it, his silence on it, or his praising of it. Then they went into this question and answer period, which was more of a way for each team, I guess you could say, to redirect and rebut the other side's arguments. Most of the senators on both sides of the aisle had no real interest in getting to the truth of what took place, of who's to blame, if Trump is guilty. They just wanted to have their side elaborate even more to make the case. But I was surprised, and I will admit, one of the best questions came from Senator Susan Collins, the Republican. She asked when Trump became aware of the attack and what actions he took to stop it. Trump's attorneys had absolutely no response to that question. They immediately tried to pivot and deflect, saying that, well, there was no due process and there was no investigation, so we have no way of knowing what happened. So because they didn't answer, the question was asked again by someone else. This time the person asked the House impeachment managers to please answer the question. They did a good job, but I wish that in their answer, they would have pointed out that Trump was asked to come and testify and he refused. Jamie Raskins later made that statement and later expounded upon that, but I wish they would have brought that into that answer because it's so very vital to rebut what his attorneys had said. I mean, his attorneys saying, oh, we had no due process and we don't know what Trump did. We don't know what actions Trump took because he got no due process in the House and there was no investigation. You're his attorney, guy. Did you ask him to tell you? If you don't know, who does? I mean, come on. And he was asked to come in and testify in this trial. It's on him if he says no, if he doesn't want to come in and answer that question himself. If they knew that he did something that was positive for his case, why didn't they say it? They could have answered that question if they had any possible defense or explanation. So they clearly don't. And then Mitt Romney, another Republican, followed up with another great question regarding Mike Pence specifically. He asked whether or not Trump knew that Pence was in danger when he sent that tweet about Mike Pence. So there was a tweet that Trump sent out saying that basically Mike Pence let us down. He wasn't strong enough. He was too weak. He didn't do what he needed to do. There was actual video of Trump supporters reading that tweet through a bullhorn while they were there attacking the Capitol, telling other Capitol attackers, other terrorists, what Trump tweeted. So Trump's attorneys lied, of course, and said, no, he had no idea that Pence was in danger. But of course, there was no due process. So we have no idea exactly when Trump knew and whether or not he knew. So they say, no, he didn't know. But then they admit that kind of, oh, well, we have no idea because, there was no investigation. Again, you're his attorney. Go freaking ask him. Or you probably already did. And that's why you're lying, because you don't want to give the answer that hell yes, he did know. You don't think Trump, the commander in chief, Trump who has access to all reports, Trump who has access to every security outlet in our country, every security division, every committee. I mean, there's nothing that he doesn't have access to, including a TV and a remote. You don't think he could have figured it out? To say that he didn't know that the Capitol was under attack is just laughable. And there are tons of news reports stating that White House staff has confirmed that Trump knew everything that was going on and he purposely did nothing. Not only that he was happy about it and he couldn't understand why others weren't as happy as he was. And then Bernie Sanders asked a question that sent Trump's attorney into a tantrum. He asked actually both sides, the impeachment managers and Trump's legal defense, if Trump was lying when he said that he won the election by a landslide. So this Van der Veen guy erupted and he said, that's irrelevant. Who asked that? And Bernie immediately just said, I did. I mean, if he thought Bernie Sanders was going to back down, he needs to wake up. He's not in Kansas anymore. But my favorite part of the day, and this is one of the reasons why I say I absolutely love and adore Jamie Raskin, he shamed Van der Veen, who needs to be shamed, and I'll explain why in a minute. But Van der Veen made a comment, I think once or twice, that this was so disturbing. His time in DC was so disturbing that he's been to Washington, D.C. so many times, but he found this so upsetting. And the way things have gone down, the way this is being handled, this is his, and I think he called it his worst experience in D.C. So Raskin, towards the end of the day, stood up to answer a question. And when he did, he said something to the effect of, gosh, I'm sorry about that, Van der Veen, that you're not having a good time here in DC, but boy, you should have been here on January 6th. Yeah. I mean, not once has Trump's team talked about the bravery of the police officers. Not once have they talked about the police officer who died that day or the two who have taken their life since that day because of what happened at the Capitol. And I'm going to talk about that in another report, how their deaths are tied, those suicides are tied to January 6th, or the Trump supporters who were killed that day, or the number of officers who were physically harmed. They're still alive, but their lives have been changed forever. Some of them, they will physically never be the same. Not one word of compassion, empathy, nothing. Just blatant disregard for any standard of morality, really, all deflection. But the reason I say Van der Veen should be ashamed is because he's the attorney that I mentioned yesterday who just recently sued Donald Trump for repeatedly claiming that the election was stolen. And he sued him, and in the filing said, there's no evidence that the election was fraudulent and that Donald Trump kept making repeated false statements about the election and about voter fraud. So this is one of the guys standing up for him now. It's unbelievable, really unbelievable. They sell their souls so cheap. All right, as always, thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I will talk with you soon.